You need to suck her powerhouse and finger the bottom of a juicy pot. Now keep in mind that some women, you know, the bottom of their juicy pot is not basically sensitive. When I mean bottom, inside the juicy pot is not really sensitive. But usually the opening of the woman's juicy pot is very sensitive, way up to, 3 inches in. That's why as soon as you start to enter her, she gives a gaps sound. All right? She gives a sound when you just put it in. But however, you may have trouble reaching it. That's the bottom of her juicy pot, unless you happen to have an incredibly long finger. You could also substitute with using, dildo or any sex toy that is longer than your finger. You can lick her powerhouse, finger her G-spot, and also, play with her number 2. Now, if it's not too awkward or uncomfortable for you, you can use, another hand to stimulate her backdoor while your mouth focuses on her powerhouse. And there are a bunch of ways to play with her number 2. You could just simply rub it on the outside without ever penetrating it. You could give it a light rhythmic pressure on the opening without penetrating it. You could also give it an in and out penetration with your hand, preferable with your hand. You understand? And of course, if you use one or both of your fingers on her number 2, then make sure that you do not touch her juicy pot with them afterwards. Otherwise, you would just risk giving her infection, because that place is really fragile and it's susceptible to getting infection. Now, power play. I could tell you for a fact that, introducing some element of power play when you're eating her can be incredibly hot. And this is what I mean by power play. Now, if your girl enjoys being restrained when you're intimate, then, tying her arms above her head before you lick her is going to be a lot of fun for both of you, because it takes a lot of her control away. And when she loses that control over her body and she has no choice but to enjoy what you bring to the table, the easier and faster you will get her to reach her apex. Now, another power play that you can bring to the table is, getting her to control the pressure. This is what I mean by getting her to control the pressure. So when you're eating her, right, you can make her put her hands on your head while you're eating her. This way, it allows her to control the position. It allows her to control the pace and the pressure as you're eating her out. She can even get a little rough by pulling your hair if you've got hairs, and she can even grind, her vulva against your face. And this also has the added benefit of allowing her to push your head away if the powerhouse becomes really too sensitive after orgasm. And also from her direction with her hands on your head, you know what she wants, how she likes it, and what she doesn't like. Now, away from powerhouse, right? The next way that you could get her to orgasm from your head game is to get her to help eating her up be a teamwork for both of you. And this is especially true if she has trouble reaching orgasm. So if your woman can't quite climax as you're licking her plate up, then she can add extra stimulation by herself by using her hand to finger her powerhouse. And of course, this is where touching yourself as a woman comes into play. Don't just lay there and expect that the man should do everything for you. The man should not be totally responsible for your orgasm. You need to be involved in getting there. You can also move your labia, you could also spread your labia majora out of the way while your man licks your plate by, you spread them with your fingers. Just spread them with your fingers while he's licking your plate. You can even tell your man vocally, instructing him to use more or less pressure, go faster or go slower. Or you could tell him to refocus his efforts elsewhere. So be involved. It's teamwork, it's partnership to get to, your orgasm and to get the type of orgasm that you need. Men can't read your mind or feel what you feel if you don't speak or if you do not communicate while getting down and dirty. All right, you need to experiment with your tongue. I know that at the start of this kitty eating guide, I mentioned that there is no need to move or flick your tongue when going down on your woman. Now this is true for most part, But there is no harm in experimenting and with gauging your reaction to it. Because for many women, you know, we find out that having our powerhouse flicked inconsistently by the tip of your tongue to be more, you know, annoying than pleasurable, especially if it's inconsistent. All right? If it's consistent, it is good. But then again, a percentage of women do like it, and some may, you know, like it as a finishing move, and it's one way to change things up from time to time. Then you could try coiling your tongue up and using it to penetrate her. You could swirl your tongue around her powerhouse. You could flick her powerhouse up and down, side to side, right, left, and center. It's also going to be a pleasurable way. All right? Yeah. Shit. Oh my God, my light fell. Jesus, what the hell? You see what I do for you guys? Be aware of the side of her powerhouse or the side of her cleat that is more sensitive than the others, so that you can, you know, determine which side of her powerhouse she likes the most to have you stimulate. All right? Figure out, is it the left or the right side? Is it the top or the bottom? Is it somewhere in between? And this is why you need to find out, because her cleat has legs that extends below it. It extends under the skin to either sides of a juicy pot. All right, so this may be the reason, you know, there is a particular side that is more sensitive than the other. So yes, now you know one side of her clit could be more sensitive than the other side. I know I always hammer on this one, whether you're performing oral on a man or a woman, wetter is always better. This is not so much a technique, but it's more of a general advice when you're going down on your partner. The wetter that you can make it, the better it will feel for your woman and even for your man. I am not talking about using water here. Instead, I am talking about using much of your saliva as much as possible, or lubes. And if you have trouble producing a lot of saliva, then you should be able to use, you know, lubricants instead. The more nastier, wet, sloppy it is, the better it can be. If you want to take a break from eating her out, then a great way to do that is to pull back and make that same O shape with your lips during the vortex technique that I taught you in my previous video. I'm going to put a link here so that you can see. So make an O shape with your lips around her powerhouse, then gently blow on her wet kitty to give her that cooling sensation. This is also a great move, you know, to make during her refractory period, when her powerhouse and vulva becomes really too sensitive to touch. I know that some people are not so adventurous, but I tell you that tossing salad is a different dimension of foreplay, especially when she's super neat. Tossing salad is basically like reaming, you know, her number two, or eating or rolling your tongue around the rim of her number two, even just after you've eaten her number one. And trust me, this is a fantastic feeling that you can give to her, and it will get her tied to your aprons, because not all partners can do this. But hey, here's a bit of warning. When you toss her salad, please do not touch her number one again with your mouth once it has touched number two, because your mouth is more likely to carry some amount of fecal matter on it. No matter how clean she is, that fecal matter can then enter into a juicy pot from your mouth, causing irritation and infection. So remember that if you leak number two, you definitely don't want to leak number one again with your mouth. Better still, just don't do it. All right, don't just toss salads if you don't want to toss. I'm just talking to those women who are freaky, or those men who are freaky. All right, now this is how we end today's class. Until tomorrow when I come your way, do stay blessed, and I love you.